What are some other things that we need to be aware of so that we can age like a guru?
The main thing is to become more mindful of how we're choosing to choose what we choose. I think that's number one. Mm-hmm. Number two is asking ourselves, what kind of day do I want? And who am I listening to that's either going to uplift me into that day or go further into decline and decrepitude? Mm-hmm. Who am I listening to?
Well, there's so many seniors I talk to that how they start their day and spend most of their day is they turn on the TV and they listen to the news all day.
Yes.
And I cannot imagine anything more depressing than sitting with the news blaring on the entire day. So it is like, what do you listen to that uplifts you? If you're spiritual or religious, listen to those things that make you more positive, that lift you up. But sitting in front of the TV the entire day with CNN or Fox News or one of those on all day, I can't imagine how that could be helpful at all.
Yeah.
Welcome to Aging in Style with me, Lori Williams. I'm an optimist by nature, and I believe you can follow your dreams at any age. My grandmother's journey with dementia ignited a passion in me to work with seniors. I've spent the past 13 years learning about seniors and aging. In my mid-50s, I followed my own dream and founded my company, where I use my expertise to help seniors locate housing and resources. On this podcast, we cover all aspects of aging. Join us each week to meet senior living experts and inspirational seniors who are following their dreams. The fact is, we're all aging, so why not do it in style?
Hi, welcome to today's episode of Aging in Style. We have a great show on positive attitudes and aging, something we talk about a lot on this podcast. Today, we have Dr. Rosie Kuhn. She is a transformational coach and the principal of the Paradigm Shifts Coaching Group. She's a preeminent thought leader in the field of transformational coaching, coach training, and leadership development, and has been in the field of self-transformation for 40 years. Dr. Rosie has authored 14 books, including Aging Like a Guru, Who Me? And I absolutely love that title. So welcome, Dr. Rosie.
Thank you, Lori.
Great. So tell us, what brought you into the field of aging? How did you get interested in this?
It has to do mostly that I'm aging. So that has a lot to do with it. But a long time ago, when I was studying to be a therapist, I took a class called Aging in Old Age. And it was horrifying for me. It was scary, and old people were scary to me because it was like, what do you do with them? They're just dying. That was my orientation, is there's nothing inside. They're just old, decrepit, declining people. So I was a therapist working in recovery. And this is the very short story. I started my PhD when I was 42. And I noticed a lot of people that were in my class. I went to school at the Institute of Transpersonal Psychology, which is now Sophia University in the Bay Area, California. And I noticed a lot of people who were, especially women, who were studying and their second career, if you will, or maybe their third career. And it was like, I don't get why you're doing this at 50 or 60 or 70 even. Like, I don't get why you're doing this because you're just going to die anyway. I mean, that even at 42, I had that perspective. Well, that was like almost 30 years ago now. And so as I'm aging, I am realizing that there's so much potential in me. And I like David Hawkins' work. He wrote Power versus Force and many other books that were very, very helpful. But what he says is that because we are part of the universal source of all that is, that makes us 100% potentiality. And it was hard to get my head around that first, because as a physical being that's dying, it's hard to see I don't know what he's talking about. But when I got that the person inside me, the being inside me is an eternal being, then and part of source, then I can go, wait, how am I limiting myself from being 100% potentiality? What am I doing that's constraining or limiting my expression in the world? And that has been really, really helpful to me personally, but also in terms of my clients or working with people, our senior center, because it helps me go, wait, I'm either declining or expanding. Basically, that's our choice. Mm-hmm. So that was a big part of what drives me to keep working in the field of aging and all. It's because we're always aging. from the time we're this little zygote to
exactly
always aging.
Yeah. And it's such a good point you make, because it's our physical bodies are aging, obviously, and if we look at someone who's 80, in our society, we're just looking at them physically, but inside their spirit, their soul, who they are, that is not aging. And, for me, and I've said this before in the podcast, I'm 57, but inside, I feel 25 or 30, and some days maybe even 19. But,
yes.
Physically, I'm not, but my mindset is that of a younger person. And I know so many seniors who feel this way. And I feel like that is the healthy way to age. If you inside feel like what you feel on the outside, that's the unhealthy. Then you're kind of giving up and going into a space that's not really healthy.
Yeah. Decline and decrepitude. I love that.
Decline and decrepitude. Yes.
So I'll be 70 in April. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people say I'm one of the youngest looking 70-year-olds they've ever seen, which is really nice to hear, right?
Yeah, you are.
Thank you. Part of that is that my attitude, and we know this scientifically now, we know that our attitudes and our belief systems affects our physical being. It affects our physical well-being, but it also affects our cells. It affects our ability to heal ourselves. And we can think of the dis-ease that happens when we're anxious or upset or worried, or when we can be in ease when our body, and when we're in ease, and we know this scientifically, when we are at ease, our body is actually able to heal itself. So people who have a better attitude are actually going to be physically healthier because they can be. And that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple, but it's hard to practice because our consensus view of reality, our culture says, hey, you're 70. That means you should be sick or crazy or, dementia, or you should be in decline. You shouldn't, all the shouldn'ts, all that kind of stuff and shoulds. You should slow down. You should take care of yourself. You should go see the doctor all the time. And all of those elements that start to create this level of dependency. Ooh, I should go see a doctor just in case, as opposed to going, I truly believe in more alternative health and working with health practitioners that empower and support us to heal ourselves to the degree that we can. And we've got medical doctors there when we can't. But the more that we rely on our own abilities to bring thriving and fullness to our lives, that's the degree to which we're going to be fulfilled. In essence.
And we can do so much for ourselves to stay healthy. Because obviously, as we age and our body's aging, there are going to be things that come up. We may have to have a hip replacement. We may have, there may be dementia. There's things that happen, but there are also so many ways that we can keep our body healthy with the way we eat, by exercising. There's so many things. And we covered this a couple of weeks ago. We had an episode on brain fitness, and it was, 5 things you can do to keep your brain fit. And all of those things were actually heart healthy for you too. So keeping your brain and your heart. So, when I see, and I do see people who are, 60 or they're retiring and they're just kind of giving up. And that's a mindset, because once you give up and your mind kind of goes there thinking, okay, now I'm going to get sick. I'm going to get this. It's kind of what I expect, what society expects. Then it's going to happen.
That's right. That's right. And as a coach, life coach, and the distinction is a lot of times people say, oh, you're a life coach. And it's no, I'm a life coach. So as we're in this process of being in these human bodies, we're having this process. We're processing constantly. Oh my God, who am I today? Who am I today? Who am I today? And this body is, I've got an achy joint right here today. Didn't have it yesterday, that kind of stuff. Oh, what's happening? Those kinds of things. But as a life coach, it's really important for me to stay in that process of what has people choose what they choose. Okay. So it's really great to have the information of here's the 5 things to do for brain health. And the bigger question is what is going to have people choose to do those things versus, yeah, that's great information. I think I'm going to go have some ice cream and chocolate cake. It's that ability to notice what we're choosing and the source of our choosing, right? Sometimes I feel a little out of connection with people because most people are in the declining decrepitude attitude. And I'm kind of not in that. And my sense of health and well-being and eating the right foods, it doesn't kind of fit with other people. So sometimes it's like, that's a little uncomfortable. So do I choose to eat ice cream and cake with my friends because that's what they're doing, even though I know it's not good for me? Or do I say, hey, you guys have that, I'm going to do this? There's that choice process that's going on for every single one of us. And that's kind of scary. And this is where we can either expand ourselves into health and well-being and vitality and thriving and fulfillment, or we can go, yeah, no, but they're not doing that. Or my doctor said it was okay to eat all that salt, or my doctor said I could eat ice cream every day. It's like, how are we choosing what we choose? That's one of the big things in most of my books is how do you choose to choose what you choose?
And that is so interesting because we all know we need to go walk at least 30 minutes a day. We need to do these things and we shouldn't be eating fried foods. We shouldn't be doing this on a regular basis. And still, for some reason, many times we choose because I guess it's our comfort zone. Is that what it is?
Sure.
Yeah.
And to expand our comfort zone is uncomfortable. Even if it's a well-being thing, it's like, I just got an inheritance. It's like, wow, that's really uncomfortable. I don't know how to do that money thing. I don't know how to have that money, and we do something because it's uncomfortable. We don't know how to go, okay, just breathe and just take a moment and let's kind of talk about this, or let's get some support. Let's get a coach here or somebody that can support us through this. And this is what I do all the time with people. And I ran, this is part of how I got to do this work and write the book, is I ran a group at our local senior center. They asked me to have a workshop, one day workshop, and it turned into a 3-year, every other week meeting. And we called it Aging Like a Guru. And they loved having the support of my thinking, which a lot of times got them out of that fear-based declining decrepitude, but they also got to hear what other people are thinking and how they're making those choices. And most of them, it was so hard for them to stay in that alignment with their highest truth, their highest knowing. They kept going into the fear, but they were able to support each other through that process, make some changes. But so my point is that as a life coach, I'm helping people, like we just said, look at what their choices are and why they're choosing that. And it's a lot of times like, I'm afraid to be different, or people say, I don't know how to do it any other way. It's like, totally get it, but that's not, so what? You don't know how to do it. Let's learn another way.
Yeah. You can change at any age.
You can, it's like, I want to dance, but I don't know the tango. It's like, well, stand up. Let's see what happens. Yeah, but I don't, it's like just the standing up is a commitment. Okay. I had a person in Holland who was thinking about working with me. And I said, let's just make an appointment. She goes, oh, that's too scary. I don't know if I don't know if I want to. It's like, I don't know if I want to learn the tango. It's like, I don't know if you want to learn the tango either, but let's get you just potentially standing up. Does that make sense? So I said, let's just make an appointment, because that in itself was scary. That was a comfort that was in her comfort zone, but pushing her comfort zone. I don't know. Let's just make an appointment, and you can cancel the appointment. It's like, just stand up. If you want to dance, stand up, and you can sit down because you're a choice. But this is the process. And so we don't have to think about thriving until you're 97. It's like, oh my God, that's too much. It's like, what's possible? Just stand up.
Exactly.
That's a choice. And it's like, yeah, okay, stand up. I'm going to go sit down again. It's like, okay. And my job is to empower people to hear and be with what is, whether it's scary or fearful or whatever it is, it's totally good. Yeah, but it's going to get in the way. It's like, I get it. But if we don't say it's scary, you're just going to sit there and watch TV.
Absolutely. And when I started this podcast, I didn't know what a podcast was, and had to ask my adult son, and he kind of laughed at me and explained it. And I'm not a super technical person, but luckily knew someone who was. And even though it was scary, it's scary to put yourself out there. It's scary to learn the new technology. I'm just going to do it. And so I think it's so important when you push through that comfort zone, when you get on the other side of it, it's like you're so proud. I'm so proud of myself. I'm like, I did it. And I think no matter what, if it's just to stand up and just to maybe learn a new dance move, or just to even get up and go to a senior center, just to get out of your comfort zone. Yeah, it's going to be difficult in that moment. But once you do it and do it again and again, it gets easier. Yeah. And you're going to look back and be like, why was I scared to do that?
Yeah. I teach other younger people how to do podcasts now because
that's awesome.
And it's like, yeah, but I say to myself, yeah, but you're an old person. It's like, yeah, no, I've been doing this a long time. So I have that. Yeah. But again, it's that place where we don't acknowledge what it takes to be human, really. Mm-hmm. We don't acknowledge all of the pressures from our children or from our doctors or from God or spiritual or religious, all these pressures that are on us to be something and do something. There's a book that I really recommend for everybody called Radical Remissions by Kelly Turner. And it's about people who have had cancer and who heal themselves through cancer. And it's a lot of science in it, and it's great stories and really helpful. And it's not just, for me, it's not just about remission from cancer, healing, curing people curing themselves from cancer. It's like anything and everything. There's an attitude of what creates that ability. So I said to my daughter, who's 45, I said, I'm not going to go for chemo if I ever I'm like 70, right? So I'm not going to do that because I'm so honoring of the process of the truth of my work that I do in the world, that we have this capacity to be with ourselves in a way that can bring healing about. And I said, I probably won't do the chemo thing in the radiation and stuff like that. And it was really hard for her to hear because it's like, well, and she said, I knew that about you. But then she's also still, I don't have cancer or anything, but it's still like, she wants me to think about it that way. The potential of going to, and I might, who knows if I ever got that far, but that ability to stand for ourselves and to empower ourselves because this is what's true for me. That's huge. And we don't get it. We just like, oh, here's what the statistic says. Here, read the book. It's really great. It'll tell you how to do it. It'll tell you how to do it. 99% of how we do, what we provide in terms of how we do it, people don't pay attention to it because they're choosing something else. It's like, yeah, I could do this, age like a guru, but yeah, no, it's too much. And so we disregard, disidentify, disempower ourselves from that ability to know ourselves through exactly what you said, through accomplishment. And that might be, how do I turn on this microphone, right? How do I hook this up to Zoom? It's like, I don't know. I'll just push a couple of buttons and yay, that moment.
Figure it out. Yeah.
But we don't give ourselves enough credit, and we don't, because we're so used to all of this input, as we don't listen to that tiny little voice, which can be a very big voice, but that tiny little voice within that goes, no, I can do this.
I think also in society, we're telling people you're going to retire at 65 and then you don't have to do anything. You can sit down. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to do anything. I think that is a disservice. And one of my most favorite people, and he is a friend of mine, he is 97 years old. And I love what he says. He's a World War II veteran, like the coolest guy ever. He tells people, they'll come to him and they'll say, oh, Doug, I'm retiring. What should I do? And he says, whatever you do, don't sit down. And he's a little abrupt. He says, if you sit down, you're going to die.
That's right.
You've got to get moving. You've got to volunteer. You've got to find some purpose. And so Doug, I've actually had him on my podcast. So I'll have to put a link to his podcast because he's amazing. But when he was in his 70s, his wife had cancer. And so he was staying home. He was her caregiver, and he's a very busy, got to keep doing stuff kind of guy. So he decided in his 70s, he's going to teach himself how to rebuild computers. So he starts doing that. And I think he's rebuilt like 1,000 computers by this point. It's a huge, huge amount. And so people will donate old laptops and computers and stuff. He refurbishes them, and then he donates them to veterans and to children. Girls and boys clubs. Nice. And I'm just like, how amazing at 97 to still be doing this. It just shows you if you have the right mindset and you're willing to put yourself out there and try something new, not say, oh, I can't do that. Just try it. Get out of your way, get out of your comfort zone.
That's right. My dad was an MD, World War II vet and all those kinds of things. He was an MD in Detroit. He lived to 91, and he actually was practicing medicine until probably 8 months. I'll say 6 months because that's really closer to the truth from when he died. He was vital. It was important for him to work and serve. He had a house in Detroit and a house in Florida. And so every week he would go, Wednesdays, he'd fly down to Florida. And my mom died 4 years before that. I mean, before he died, I think 4 years. So every week he'd go fly down to Florida, fly back to Detroit every week. And it gave him the sense of connection. And so it gave him that sense of purpose and fulfillment. He was delighted with life. So my dad was vital and happy. What was fun for him, what was important. If it's fun, I'm going to do it. And he was a great role model for me. And he's one of those people. And he would say, every day is the best day. It just gets better and better. And it's like, I don't know how that's possible because he's in decline and decrepitude in my mind. But in his attitude and his way of seeing the world, it was just getting better and better. So
and he said, this is the best day ever. And he's in his 90s saying that. Whereas, some people I talk to, and I hate to say this, but it's probably more people are, oh, it's a bad day. I mean, I am aching everywhere. It just stinks to get old. And that just, to me, if you keep that attitude, whatever you say to yourself, it's going to become. If you say, this is the best day ever, I'm going to accomplish this, I'm doing this, then that's what's going to happen for you. And to me, it's like, I don't know why it's hard for some people to understand that.
It's our culture that continues to enculturate that. Okay. There are people in our 40s who are, they're having a mind blip. And they go, oh, it's because I'm aging. It's not because you're aging. Get over that, or my joints are aching. It's because I'm getting old. It's not because you're getting old. It's not because you're aging. And we do that to ourselves. And that creates that decline because we do that to ourselves. Or it's, my mother, when she was 57, started having, and it's like, oh, I'm going to start. It's like, that's not true. But we make that up. We can change our genetics. Science has proved that. We can change whatever we choose to change.
Exactly.
Science proved that. And people can go, and I would myself probably say, oh yeah, that's for them because they had ABC, or they had a better dad, or they had a better house, or they had a better whatever. It's like, yeah, no, we all have the capacity to be the fullest potential. And we all have the capacity to dim our lights, put that dimmer switch on and dim, and leave. We all have that capacity to choose. And I'm not saying, hey, go for the gusto, age like a guru. It's like, yeah, no, whatever we're in, we're aging like a guru because we have to be. The only element of the aging like a guru is how conscious are we to the choices we're making.
Absolutely. That's key.
Being who's meditating and oming, nothing to do with that. It's how conscious are you, and how conscious are you willing to be to the choices that you're making? How conscious are you to how you be with your fears or your attitudes? How conscious are you, and how conscious are you willing to bring yourself to? I have some friends who, great people, but he doesn't want to. I mean, I've been friends with him for like 10 years. He doesn't want to shift his attitudes.
I think that's huge right there that you said conscious, because I think a lot of people go around just kind of taking in what society is telling us, right? There's, okay, you're 70, you can't ski anymore, you can't do this. And so you're just accepting that unconsciously, right? And that's so, right. But what you're saying with aging like a guru, you need to like stop and think, why can't I ski at 70? If I want to ski, I'm going to ski.
That's right. That's right. That's right. It's that choice making. And more and more, whether it's coaching or therapy or whatever, we're honing in on this. What are you choosing? Or how are you being in this choice right now? People, it's like, okay, how are you being in that choice? Grumpy, resistant, frustrated. Okay, great. Let's, for the moment, imagine you making a different choice. That choice will be going out in the sunshine. Okay, what's it feel like making that choice? Oh, their body kind of straightens up. They kind of feel their eyes kind of open. There's a little more light coming out. It's like, how are you being in any choice that you're making? Well, I think I'll have a peanut butter and banana sandwich for breakfast. Okay, how's that feel right now when you say that? It's comfort food, but it doesn't feel like a yum. I mean, like a lightening up, enlivenment. What would make you feel that way? Oh, having whatever that is. We'll say eggs, whatever. It's like, oh, that feels better. Okay, great. You know the difference. We know the difference. Every single moment, every single thought, we know the difference. But the degree to which we bring consciousness to it and awareness and go, oh man, I just was going to eat that peanut butter banana sandwich, and I stopped myself because I don't want to feel that way. Or ice cream. When I eat ice cream, my body goes, yeah. I love ice cream. I love ice cream.
Me too.
But when I eat it, my body goes, just kind of like shrivels up. It's like, I don't want to do that to my body because I don't like it. So I make the choice.
I'm the same way. Like, so if I eat ice cream, I know I'm going to regret it because I'm lactose intolerant. So every now and then I will have ice cream, but I won't eat much of it because I'm being conscious here that I am going to feel awful if I eat more than like one little scoop. So so I totally get what you're saying.
So, I'll have a little glass of wine, on occasion because I want it. So it's not like it's like a terrible, horrible thing if we have these things. It's like, how are you feeling when you have that? What's the quality of the experience? I ask that question to every single one of my clients. What's the quality of the experience when you're doing that versus doing something else? And they know the difference. When I eat that ice cream or when I have that beer, I feel bloated or I feel sick or I feel, it's like, okay, great. So what has you keep choosing the beer?
Yeah.
Well, my father used to drink a beer every night before he went, it's like, okay, that was your dad. How is that? And all of these choice-making processes that we go, and we're all intelligent. You know that, Lori, because you talk to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But we're so much more intelligent than we allow ourselves. We have so much more capacity for wisdom. But we go, oh, that's how it's been. So that's how I'm going to keep doing it. Like, that's not wisdom. That's just habits,
We're like on cruise control, right? Just kind of just going through.
Or everybody else does it, I'm going to do it too. It's like, okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
I totally support and empower, I empower you to empower yourself to make the choices you make. I'm not going to tell you not to do it. I'm just going to say, how do you feel when you do that?
Absolutely. What are some other things that we need to be aware of so that we can age like a guru?
The main thing is to become more mindful of how we're choosing to choose what we choose. I think that's number one. Number two is asking ourselves, what kind of day do I want? And who am I listening to that's either going to uplift me into that day or go further into decline and decrepitude? Who am I listening to?
Well, there's so many seniors I talk to that how they start their day and spend most of their day is they turn on the TV and they listen to the news all day.
Yes.
And I cannot imagine anything more depressing than sitting with the news blaring on the entire day. So it is like, what do you listen to that uplifts you? If you're, spiritual or religious, listen to those things that make you more positive, that lift you up. But sitting in front of the TV the entire day with CNN or Fox News or one of those on all day, I can't imagine how that could be helpful at all.
Yeah. And again, there's what's really true. So I'll just say the big S word. What's true is most of us are killing ourselves. We're in some level of suicide, the slowest form of suicide when we are doing something other than the uplifting of our spirit. And it's very sad the degree to which that's been enculturated into us. We don't even know it, right? But we just assume what's the point? It's like when I was looking at aging people before, what's the point? So a lot of people still have that attitude. Like I have no purpose. I have no meaning. I have no connection with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the three things that are really important to our psyche, no matter how old we are, is what's the degree of value you experience of yourself in the world. And that means painting this picture. Again, your viewers can't see it,
Mm-hmm.
but this is a sense of not only just accomplishment, but delight. I'm showing Lori this little painting of two gnomes in their Easter bunny outfits, their little.
It's adorable. Yeah.
Costume. That gives me delight.
Mm-hmm.
And so doing things that are providing delight, doing things that provide a sense of heartfulness. Mm. But again, we have to get out of our way. Sometimes we have to get out of our own way to start those things. Like you said, be of service to somebody, or to engage with animals, at the animal show.
Absolutely.
Okay. So my point is purpose, and the purpose is growing ourselves. We can say my purpose is serving lunches at the high school. But the purpose is what's the fulfillment that comes through that activity. So we're in the sense always fulfilling a sense of that need to feel purposeful. The second thing is the sense of value of our own life, the valuing of our own life. This is in Kelly Turner's book. It's like people who heal themselves of cancer, cure themselves of cancer, have a value of their life. My value, my life means something to mm-hmm. me, that I will honor that life. I will honor this life. So different. We go, what do you mean? Right? It's like, snap out of it.
Yeah.
As opposed to just letting it slip away.
Do you feel like, and this just kind of occurred to me, in our society, people do not value older people, and which, I am wanting to change that. That's something that's important to me. That needs to be changed because, I know my friends, I've always loved seniors, older people, and I've always connected. And some of my best friends have been in their 80s. And it's like, other ones of my friends that are my age are like, I don't get it. I'm like, they're just like us. It's just their body. And so I feel like our society does not value people as they age. There's a lot of ageism out there. And then I feel like, seniors take that in internally, that I have no value because, I'm 80 years old. I'm not working still. I don't have value. Is that kind of what you see also?
Yes. And I don't see it's the responsibility of the younger people.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the responsibility of us who are aging, who are all of us, but those of us who are in our 50s or 60s or 70s or 80s, it's our responsibility to be the role model, if you will, or the poster child for vitality versus
absolutely
decline. And because it's, in essence, it's, from my perspective, it's a smaller proportion of the aging people who are getting the decline, who are living the decline message, then it's very challenging to see it any other way.
Mm-hmm.
I did a master's degree in social work whenever I did that, my 30s. And I did my thesis on healthcare system where there's dementia. So the nurses and support people in centers where there's dementia happening. And basically the research showed that so much of the attitudes and the perspective of the healthcare people was influencing the degree to which a person felt like they were declining.
Mm-hmm.
And so that in itself is like, what's the attitude of the people that are supporting people who are seniors? And if it's like, oh, they're going to be in decline and we better give them and create that dependency and support the decline versus support the enlivening, that's
mm-hmm.
what's going to happen. And so, you are an advocate for vitality and fulfillment in every human spirit, no matter what the age is.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that your message gets out there, my message gets out there, the more that we live in that, we become the poster children of that. My brother, I think he's 5 years older than me, so he's going to be 75 or 76. He has been doing triathlons for years. He just retired last year with the COVID and all that stuff. But, this guy was, biking, 100 miles, running a marathon and swimming. It's like in the senior triathlon. I think it's a triathlon. I think that's what it's, not the Ironman, but the sort of, but anyway, it was like that guy that guy is like, he's always had that kind of attitude. He's always had that kind of vitality and that can do. And that's just part of who he is and will always be part of that. I don't have it quite to that degree. I have my own and everybody has their own, but sometimes we have to cultivate it in ourselves rather than saying, oh no, that's not me. There's a woman I know, and I can't remember her name, wish I could, but she started doing triathlons when she was, or Ironman, actually, I think it was, when she was 64, 65, and I think it's 69, I'll say now. She's still doing it. But she didn't start. She was like, and she was just got herself a physical trainer and started training to do these things because she wanted to.
Yeah.
I went horseback riding on a week-long wilderness adventure, camping, tenting for a week. And it was like, I've never done anything like that before in terms of, here I am, an old person, 69, but I didn't have any problems at all, just in terms of the vitality and the intention. I want to do this. And so we can do whatever. And I say these things and it's like, yeah, and somebody's going to go, yeah, but you're, and they justify why they're not doing it.
But, the other thing, say someone maybe physically they can't, they could have some physical issues, but that doesn't mean you can't maybe learn a new language or you can't paint or you can't knit. There are things that you can do, and maybe certain things aren't going to appeal to you. Like I interviewed this really super fun lady a while back and she's 81 and she skydives. She has a skydiving group of all women who are seniors who skydive.
Gosh.
She was, amazing. And she invited me to skydive. And I said, thank you, but no, because I have a fear of heights. So skydiving is not going to be my thing. But there are other things that appeal to me that may be out of my comfort zone. But you know what? I'm going to push myself and do it. And that's everyone has something.
That's right. Everyone has I would like to do more of that, but... I have this on YouTube and I can give you the link.
Okay, great.
I have this boot camp. It's called Inward Bound Boot Camp for Self-Transformation. And it's 20 videos that are 10 minutes each.
Okay.
So very short. And it's about this process of how do we learn these fundamental skills of shifting and changing ourselves to having a great life or even having a better life or having a different life, right? Because, in a lot of these podcasts is like, oh, you can have a great life. You can have a beautiful, it's like, how about we just go from here, incremental step 1 to incremental step 1.5, right? So step 1 in this 20 videos is, what do you want? What is it you want? And this is the 4 questions I ask my clients. What do you want? What's in the way? What needs to shift to get that out of the way? And what will you practice? So those are the 4 questions. So day 1 is really talking about for 10 minutes. How do you know what you want? What is it you want? I want to have a better day. Okay, great. Day 2 is the yes buts, if onlys, and what ifs. I want a better day. But what if, okay, now I want a better day becomes like you just lose sight of what I want a better day. And now you're in the what ifs, if onlys, and we get caught in the if onlys and the yes buts. And like I said, we just lose sight of that. Here's what I want. And it's a constant battle with ourselves to do that. And we have to stay, the practice in a sense is to go, here's what I want. And the yes, but comes in and you go, yeah, no, I'm not going to listen to the yes, but, or if onlys, or what ifs. What if I get independent and what if I fall down? It's like, well, let's get you independenter and see what happens. And you can make a decision over the way. But we go, oh yeah, I'm going to be skydiving. If I get independent, I'm going to go skydiving. I hate skydiving. It's like, no. If you get independent, you can be more at choice and fulfill those choices, whatever that is. When I was starting my PhD and I lived in Nova Scotia, and then I had to move to California to do my PhD. And it was like, I drove with my little Volkswagen Golf and driving across. And it's like, what if I don't get there? What if, something bad happens? What if? And it was like, we'll see. we'll see what happens. So I drove from Nova Scotia and Detroit, where my parents live, and things went smooth. Went to Niles, Michigan, where my sister lived, went smooth, and just kept every little incremental step was another step. That's all there was. And it's like, what if in Wyoming, I want to take a turn north and just keep going? Let's see what happens, right? So we don't have to be attached to, I'm going to dance and have to learn the tango and I'm going to fall down and I'm going to break my hip. Right? We do that. Hey, you want to learn the tango? Let's stand up, see what happens. What is it like standing up? Holy cow, that is huge. Honest to God, I'm not making that up. It's huge for people to go, I want to learn the tango. Okay, let's stand up. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary to live into our fulfillment.
And so people, it sounds like they just, and then I'm guilty of this too. I'm sure we all are, that you have this idea and then you overthink it into all these things could happen. And then I'm just not going to do it. But we have to just get up and just kind of, like you said, push those thoughts out of our mind and do one step at a time until there you are tangoing.
That's right. Or foxtrotting or waltzing. It doesn't, that tango thing is not actually working for me, but I like the idea of the box step with the foxtrot or whatever. It's like, okay, great, let's go do that. So you don't have to be attached to and make that, I'm gripping and, grasping. It's like, let's just see what it's like being you standing up. Let's see what it's like for you to put your tennis shoes on. Let's see what it's like to get the yoga mat out. I've got a yoga mat sitting here just gathering dust, right? And I go, what would it be like to get that out? Yeah, no. I'd rather get my walking shoes on and go outside and walk. Okay. That's what makes me happy.
Exactly.
So it's really, like you're saying, it's where's that fulfillment and the sense of accomplishment? I'm going to stand up. Excellent. And honest to God, I'm not trying to minimize this, but to say, that's awesome. You just stood up. What's that like for you in this moment? And people will justify and go, oh, it's no big deal. I just stood up.
But you did it. You could have stayed sitting, but you stood up.
That's right. And we don't make it's just like, you stood up. What's that like standing up? I feel a little scared. Absolutely. Great. What would you like to do in this moment as you're standing up here? I'm not sure. Okay, I'll stand here with you. Let's see what shows up. Literally, I'm talking literally doing this with people. What's showing up? I think I'd like to go get a glass of water in the kitchen. Excellent. I'll walk with you.
I think this is huge. I mean, because we tell people all the time, change your mindset, be happy, do this. Well, I mean, it's super easy to just say those words, but I love what you're saying, that it's incremental steps to do that. And it's just making that choice to stand up, to put on your tennis shoes, like you said, just continue making those steps. You're not just saying, get up and go for a walk. I mean, there's all those steps involved that you have to make that choice.
Oh my God. And I live on the side of a mountain and it's all rocky. It's, unless I stay on my dog, Gracie, loves to go in the woods. And it's like, you're getting older now. And so if we go in the woods, let's take our cell phone. So if we fall down, we'll be able to, that kind of thing. So it's like, okay, I'll do that just to stay a little bit, but I'm still going to go walking in the woods and trip over rocks and things like that because I'm okay.
Yeah.
But so coming back to the point that we're just making, those incremental steps are fundamental. It's all that matters. It's all that matters. The goal is, in a sense, they say the journey is the destination, right? The journey it's not the destination, it's the journey. And it's, in essence, it's true, but it's like, and Lao Tzu says, the journey starts with 1,000 miles starts with one step. And I'm just using all these different references. Alcoholics Anonymous is like one day at a time. And if we get ahead of ourselves, get overwhelmed, and we just go back to drinking, or we go back to watching the news, or we go back to the way it was, go back to sleep. And if we go, okay, just for this moment, just experiment, stand up. just as an experiment. And I say this to my clients all the time, whether it's standing up or the imagining of something that's scary. Just let's imagine it for a minute, for 1 minute, 1 minute. And when it's over, you can go back to how it was. But we're exercising the muscles of that experience. That's it. Oh, I stood up. Excellent. Now what do you want to do? What I really want to do is sit down again. Okay, great. I totally get that.
But you stood up.
And standing up, is there another possibility besides sitting down? Mm-hmm. You can sit down, and I'm totally supporting you of sitting down because I'm totally empowering people to make the choice consciously.
Mm-hmm. So the key to aging like a guru is making the conscious thought, getting it and thinking about what you're doing, making it conscious, coming out from the unconscious, just listening to what society is telling you, and then just to make that first step.
That's right.
Okay. That's excellent.
Right. That's right. And do the wahoo. You know, wahoo, I just stood up. Wahoo, I just picked up a book that I didn't, I was afraid to look at, or I called my health practitioner and I was afraid to do that. It's like I did, I called Social Security to make that blah, blah, blah,
So celebrate those things that you do. I mean, even if it's you just stood up or whatever, celebrate it.
So, I mean, I work with a woman who's 47 and she's going, why should I celebrate that? That's a normal activity for everybody. It's like, you believe it's normal, but it's not. It's a big deal for every single one of us, the way that we work through our lives. And if we don't celebrate our accomplishments, and people, and sometimes I'll say, people, whatever. And I go, do you put your socks on? Yeah. Do you put your underwear on going in the right direction? And they'll look at me like, you're stupid. Of course I can. It's like, those are major accomplishments for some people.
They are. Absolutely.
And so we have to honor and be grateful for those capacities rather than, so what if I can stand up? Like, so what? It's like, okay, let's look at this a little differently. So that consciousness of how we are inside our lives is just so important.
This is wonderful. Such great information, Dr. Rosie. I'm so glad to have you on the show. And I could talk to you all day, literally.
It's fun.
It is. It's such great information. And I hope people listen to it and really take it in. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me, everything that you're saying. And it's, information that we've tried to share, but I really feel like the way that you're explaining it makes a lot of sense. And I'm hoping this will help people to get up, to stand up and try something new.
Yeah. And I'm officially almost 70. I'll be 70 in April. I'm walking my own talk. When you ask the question of who's my role model, I'm basically my role model because I'm doing what's really difficult and scary. And I'm doing it because I love this being. I love this, honoring this body. I'm honoring this physical. Does that mean I'm perfect at it? Hell no. Do I want to binge on Netflix? Hell yes. Those kinds of things. It's like, I'm a human being and I'm going through this experience and this process of aging and working it out on my own and really encouraging and empowering people to empower themselves to see what kind of life they want, truly. A lot of people start developing a relationship with their spiritual self in their aging years, partly because they have time to do that, and partly because it's like, what else is there? Like, there's got to be something else. This is not fulfilling. I got to find meaning. I do these podcasts, live podcasts on YouTube, not podcasts, but YouTube lives. And right now I've been talking about spirituality and everything, basically. So that's on YouTube that you can find those, any of my podcasts. That's where I'm at, podcasts and video, vlog, whatever you want to call them. Okay, a lot of information there as well. We'll
put a link to all of that and to your books too.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I love everything that you shared, and really it's information that makes me think too. And I hope that, it'll get across to our audience. I hope someone will just, at least one person will just go, you know what? I'm going to go learn to paint today, or I'm just going to get up off this couch and take a walk, just whatever. I just hope it inspires someone.
Me too.
So, well, thank you so much for being on.
You're welcome.
Okay, guys, thanks for listening. We will have all of Dr. Rosie's information available to you, where you can go listen to her YouTube videos, find her books, everything you'd like information on. And as always, thank you so much for listening to the show, and please share it with your friends. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.